It's been an interesting ride so far.
If you're not ahead and doing video stuff right now, you're not going to make it in this world.
The real best way to meet clients, if that's your goal, is to be helpful, is to make an impact, is to leave a mark in a positive way.
Everybody, welcome back to The Good Hustle. This is a special episode for us. I am John Henry.
Zach Williamson.
This is episode 15, and today we're just going to kind of reflect and talk about the things that we've done so far. I mean, it has been pretty fun, don't you think?
Yeah. It's been an interesting ride so far. I was telling Lissy earlier today, I was like, we're 15 episodes in, and I didn't really know what to expect with doing like just a podcast in general. I had no idea what this was going to be like, and truthfully, it's interesting because I was I'd say I come from a pretty humble background, and to be talking to people like we were in a room the other day with Shane Gillis. We were in a room the other day with Juwan Chisholm, who's telling us about stories with Mike Tomlin.
Chris Heisey.
Chris Heisey, exactly. Another guy who mashed 3 home runs against the Yankees. And
Tom Russell.
Yes, Tom Russell. I know there's a long list already.
Movie directors.
Yes, movie directors, exactly. And yeah, it's just a wild feeling so far.
Yeah, and it's funny to me because I feel like somebody said, "How are you getting these guests?" And I was like, just dumb luck. And they're like, that's not how it is. I'm like, no, seriously. Like a lot of it feels like dumb luck. Like we're having Ashley Gleach on coming up next month. And literally that was dumb luck. I mean, she's an NBA ref.
Yeah.
Like she's an amazing person.
Yeah.
Like, and just people are like, hey, they started watching and they're like, hey, I got somebody that you could talk to. Hey, I got somebody you could talk to.
Mm.
And the funny thing that I've noticed that has been really, really cool is like the people that are watching that I wouldn't think would watch.
Yeah.
Like I got a birthday card from my grandmother. She's like 86 or 85.
Yeah. Right.
And she's like, happy birthday. I love your podcast. I was like, that is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Or I run into somebody I'm showing a house for a listing and I'm doing this listing appointment. This guy's like, you look familiar. And then he read my shirt and he's like, oh, I went to school with Zach. I've seen your podcast.
Yeah. That's so weird.
Yeah. Like how crazy is
Shout
that?
out to Mike Novak if you're watching this.
Mike Novak.
My buddy.
So, and his girlfriend, Sam. But like to me, I just never... First off, I thought it was going to be fun. I didn't know anything I had zero expectations.
Yeah.
So when I first, thought about doing this, which we'll get into a little bit more, I thought it was just going to be real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the plan going in initially. And, I was telling, I can be really hard on myself sometimes, truthfully. And I tell people sometimes, like, I think that I was supposed to be a loser a little bit. Like my life trajectory was supposed to kind of start out. And, a few years ago, I was working at a truck stop. Like as a manager in training at a truck stop after college.
Which one?
I don't even remember what it was called now. It was a very small little truck stop space. But it was in a period right after college. I did it for like a month and I hated it. And I didn't really know where life was going to take me. But I certainly didn't think it was going to be doing a podcast and talking to all these amazing people and trying to make like an actual difference in the world. And of course with our real estate team too, trying to make a real difference in the world. And so, yeah, it's been a wild ride so far. But what I was thinking of doing is maybe starting out kind of telling, some of our favorite stories to this point from behind the camera. So stuff that maybe didn't happen on camera, but like some of our favorite stories.
I think for me, some of the coolest stuff that's happened is, like I mentioned earlier, is the people that have come up to me and messaged me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a guy message me this morning that I've known for years. And he just listened to the Juwan Chisholm episode and he said that's been our best episode so far. Like he said he cried 4 times. My mom listened to it yesterday. I didn't know she was listening to it at all.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest with you.
I saw that Taylor sent us a picture of her and her mom watching the podcast too.
Oh, yeah. And Taylor's mom has like stage 7 dementia, which we're actually going to have Taylor on to talk about that hopefully in the near future. But she said her mom just sits there and stares at it. Like her mom's not really verbal anymore.
Sure.
And it's tough, but it's really neat that I come on the television and she just watches.
Yeah.
And it's like a calming thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's things that we're doing that you didn't think would be happening. And there's people that are being influenced or being helped by it. Like we had that one person commented, we had Kate Gillis on here who had, what a crazy journey she's had to have 4 children.
Unbelievable journey. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And somebody from who knows where in the country posted on our YouTube page and made a comment that they were getting ready to adopt, and now what did they had said? They said they were going to change their mind and they were going to adopt somebody with Down syndrome now.
Yeah, so they said something about along the lines of like it's such weird timing that I'm seeing this video because I was considering adopting someone with DS, but I didn't really know what I was going to do, and I was getting a little nervous and scared, and so this kind of gave me some more confidence to be able to pull that trigger, something along those lines.
Yeah, and I had a friend from Tennessee, well, not even a friend of mine, a friend of somebody else's, reach out and say, "Hey, listen, I've been watching the podcast. It just popped up on my YouTube."
Yeah.
And that's in Tennessee, which I think is the stuff like that's really cool. Like, and getting to know like Mike Lynn, the girl that that coaches basketball, who was one of our best episodes we've ever done, and getting to know her a little bit more. And she had a lot of views on hers. Now, most of those views was her mom, but that's
she has 500 views and 499 were her mom.
499 her mom just had it on repeat, but she wanted them numbers, so she got them. It's like, can you please vote for me?
She's
on
still
Live?
refreshing the videos.
She's still refreshing. Yeah, it actually we got 24 more views today because that's an hour long. But no, like just getting to know Mike Lynn more, and like we got to talk to Juwan and get to understand a little bit more. And now I'm gonna go get trained by him, like because he's doing training now, so I'm gonna.
Juwan is the man.
He is the man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody said to me today, like, that guy was the coolest guy. I was like, dude, he was like, to go through what he went through. Like, I don't even know. Like, there's so many. What are some of your favorite stories so far?
Yeah. So, like, this is just random stuff that's happened. So, Valley Bistro, amazing restaurant right by our office there. The one day I walked in, it was right after we filmed with Jeff Stellwagen, the poker player.
Yep.
My buddy who I went to Shippensburg with. Shout out to Jeff. And it was right after that we got in line to get some drunken chicken sandwiches, which are just the best. They're covered in cheese. They're awesome. And we got in line and someone said, "Hey, do you have to have really cool Jordans to be on the podcast?" Because I was wearing Jordans that you gave me actually that day. And I had no idea who this person was at all. And she was like, "Oh, I know John Henry and I've been watching your show. And so that's how I know you." And like, it's, of course we're not famous. This is a small podcast.
And we don't make any money. So
Right,
just put that out there.
Yeah. But it's cool that like at the very least, she enjoys what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And she's watching along and hopefully getting something like positive out of it, So like moments like that. And you told me one about, you were in the stands at a game, right? And someone came up to you?
Oh no, I went to a couple Cumberland Valley basketball games, and there was a couple people that yelled, "Hey, podcast!"
Yeah,
and I mean I know them, but just to know that people are watching, and I think that that's really neat because a lot of people, and for my business, in today's world, and we were actually talking about this with Ben, who's behind the camera over here.
Shout out to Ben.
Shout out to Ben. Behind the camera before, like video is key in almost everything you're doing right now, whether it's music or you're selling anything. I don't care if it's, solar panels, like I was just on the phone with my buddy Devin, or if you're selling houses. Like if you're not ahead and doing video stuff right now, you're not going to make it in this world. And people want shorts. They want vertical. They want, there's a thing that they want. And for us to be able to sit here and, be able to film a full episode and then have Nate turn it into shorts and us post those and kind of, get people to just watch little snippets. And some people that I know, friends of mine, they've only ever seen the snippets, and that's okay.
Yep.
Like I'm okay with that. Maybe someday they'll put a whole episode on when they're on a drive. I just, I had a buddy that just went on a drive. Oh, he was with his son, and he said to his son, "Hey, do you know who this is?" Because his son knows me. His son's like 9, and he's like, "Steve Rinella." Well, Steve Rinella's Meat Eater. Like, it's one of the most famous podcasts in the world right now. And he thought that was me. I was like, I love that.
Next time he's going to say Joe Rogan or something.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, either way.
Not bald enough to be Joe Rogan.
No. But so there's some of my most fun stories are just the people that you don't think are listening.
Yeah.
Are the ones that are listening. Mm-hmm. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize that you were actually listening to what we have. And to hear the feedback from people talking about how this episode did this for them or that episode did that for them. Even my mom said last night, she said she cried 3 times listening to the Juwan episode.
I feel like Juwan went through more in his first 10 years of life than I have in my entire life. Just from hearing that story.
100% agree with that.
It's wild stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one thing you're pointing out that's really good too is like not only do we want people to watch the show, because of course we do, like it's, we put a lot of time and effort and everything into it, but more than that, I love hearing stories of people that were impacted, people that were crying for, hopefully good reasons, like getting some kind of emotion out of them that is positive. And even if they're crying because they're they went through something similar to someone like Juwan or someone like Kate who went through something hard, like at least I think that's something that our podcast is able to do really well, is be able to have those impactful stories talked about in an impactful way. And I think like, yeah, I just think that that's really cool. And I understand that like, maybe hour long or 45-minute long podcasts are not for everybody. Like, this is one thing that I learned early on whenever I was learning about how to get into YouTube and those kind of things is like, make content that you would want to watch.
Yeah.
Make content that you are proud of and something that you really want to watch. And this is the kind of stuff that I really like and that John really likes. We love long form podcasts that get into the nitty gritty like this.
Yeah. And I think one of the funnier things is, so if everybody who knows me personally, I think I'm the funniest person in the world. Like I make myself laugh more than anybody.
Sure. Yep.
And when I make myself laugh on the podcast and then I listen to it or watch it, I re-laugh at the same joke that I told. Like I find myself watching and laughing hysterically. Like the Tom Russell episode, like I think we laughed the whole time.
Oh, Tom Russell's hilarious.
Yeah, that was like really funny. And I just think the joy that it brings me is really fun. And I don't mean that like I'm not listening to myself talk for joy. I'm listening to myself because I want to hear the stories that were being told. But like even like some of the stuff that like our last guest was saying about how, and what you were saying, like how we're maybe emotionally helping some people. Yeah. And obviously we're not any type of therapist or counselor.
Of course
we do not
yeah.
claim to be in any way, shape, or form. But there's trauma. Everybody goes through pain. Everybody goes through trauma. Mm-hmm. And I've been reading this book, which has been so good for me mentally right now. And it talks about how there's this Buddhist who basically stated that there's pain. So you have, whenever something traumatic or an event happens, there's two arrows. Mm-hmm. The first one is the event, the pain,
right,
and it hits you. The second one is the suffering, and that one's optional.
Right.
And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, because there's so much suffering in this country and in this world. Mm-hmm. And to have the understanding that it's all based off the reality in your brain, like it's really important for people to understand, like you can get through it.
Yeah.
But not everybody believes it. Like when I do my speaking about sobriety in schools, and there's that one kid in the back that has no hope, and I tell my story, and a teacher says to me afterwards, it's the first time I saw that kid pay attention. Like, because he sees me and thinks, man, my life isn't much different than his was. Mm-hmm. Or this is that. Like there's so many similarities there. And just to give 1 ounce of hope to somebody, because hope is contagious.
Yeah.
Like for me, that was one of the first things I read in sobriety was a little article that was called Hope is Contagious. And man, did that just resonated with me and understanding like, man, it is contagious. Like I see that guy doing well, I can do well. If she's doing it, I can do it. And then when I start feeling it, then I just want more of it. Yeah. And I want to keep moving forward. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we talked about on one of the episodes, I think it might've been on your addiction episode, about how, if you're, one of 10 people that love God and that try their hardest and are ambitious, you're going to be the 10th one or whatever. But if you, get around the wrong crowd, it obviously will influence you the other way. And I think that, that hope is contagious as part of that too, is like you see hopeful people that are trying their best. And hopefully that's what this podcast ends up being, is a lot of people that, I had mentioned earlier that, I thought I was going to be, a loser and not do anything with my life. And like, I think my trajectory was not to end up here. Right. Like originally.
Yet, buddy.
Exactly.
Do it.
Yeah. And like, I can still sink this plane.
You can still just go right downhill, buddy. I'm just kidding.
I know. But I think one thing that I'm learning from the podcast over and over and over again too, is like, we've talked to probably 10 to 12 guests or something like that. And all of them have a story, that isn't perfect. It's not straight uphill. It's not, that their life wasn't given to them by any means. There's a lot of things that had to go right or wrong for them to get to where they are, But, with all that being said, I kind of wanted to read a couple.
You want to do some stats?
Yeah, I want to read some of our good hustle stats so far. Because we read Alex Irby's stats and they're a little bit better than ours. Okay, but but we'll get into the good hustle stats. Okay, so far we've had 85,000 views on YouTube specifically. We've had a lot on Facebook and Instagram or whatever too. And actually that number was 70,000 yesterday. But one of Kate Gillis's episodes, shorts, ended up getting like 15,000 today. People have watched 1.5 thousand hours of our content so far on YouTube. Our audio-only listeners have downloaded over 300 podcast episodes. And our full-length episode with Kate Gillis that we talked about is up to nearly 5,000 views on YouTube
I thought it was more.
today on its own. 5,000 of just the full
Yes,
length.
you're right. Okay, yeah.
We just hit 250 subscribers. So thank you everybody who's subscribed so far. That's specifically on YouTube as well. And that's all in our first 3 months and first 15 full-length episodes.
Yeah, and I
so
think that's better than your thoughts of expectations would have been.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing is YouTube is a really hard platform to get like a grip on. And so, Mr. Beast is like the most famous YouTuber out
Obviously,
there.
yeah.
And he's famous for saying like, upload your first 100 videos and expect nothing to happen. Like that's kind of the way YouTube works is it's a very slow uphill and eventually one of them kind of catches and gets you into the, more predominant algorithm and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would say I'm pretty proud of what we've done to this point.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I think is the best part about this is the relationships that we've built because of it in such a short period of time. Whether it's getting closer to Nate, who helps us out, getting closer.
Shout out to Nate.
Yep. Getting closer to you and I becoming closer friends.
Yeah.
Actually, me getting closer to Lissy, like your wife, and talking to her on the phone and like having lots of laughter conversations.
She thinks you're hilarious. Too.
Well, I mean, I'm an idiot. Those kind of are the same thing.
They can go together.
Somebody told me once I was a classy Theo Vaughn. And I thought that was pretty good. I was
hilarious.
like, I thought that was pretty good. So.
We should have told that to Shane Gillis. Missed our opportunity.
Yeah. So just these relationships that we're building, I think has been really, really cool. And just getting to know more people locally in the area and like this whole podcast world, like I said, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit. Like I tried to do this for a while.
Yeah.
Like, this is something I wanted for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So I guess with all that being said, and of course, like we have filmed, like we've formed a lot of really cool relationships to this point on the podcast. Like I think Mike Lynn has become someone that our whole group here really
hilarious
loves a lot, and we got to hang out with her again at the event with Kate Gillis and stuff, and she's really funny.
3, 2, 1 day.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. But I guess with all that being said, we should get into kind of why did you want to originally start this podcast? Because the podcast was really originally John's idea. He came to me with the idea. So I guess take it from there. Why was that the first?
So when I switched over to Keller Williams, I really started to think, my gosh, I want to do some more video stuff because I'd already loved doing video stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd been doing video things for, 7 years, something like that. My first big video was obviously my 10-year anniversary of sobriety. Nate did a video for me. It was 18 minutes long that actually got like 175,000 views on Facebook.
Nice.
Had like
Facebook sometimes can
that one
really
blew
pump
up.
you up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with my doing the public speaking that I've been doing, and I've always wanted to do some acting, things like that. It's like, you know what? If there's a way I can get on camera and be helpful, I thought it would be this. So I'm talking to different agents in different offices of Keller Williams, like, hey, would you want to be in a podcast for real estate? Would you want to be in it? Would you want to be in it? And they never, that interest never sparked into anything. And, we ended up hiring you back last year in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was standing there, I was looking up at you because you're taller than me. And that's the only reason I was looking up. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
But and I said like, hey, you love YouTube. Do you want to do this podcast? You're like, yeah. So we were going to kind of start off as real estate, talk about some things like that, which no offense. I love my career. I love my job. But I would have been bored doing that.
Yeah.
That would have been boring for me.
Yeah.
And then of course, first day you show up and you got on a shirt that says hustle. I have one on that says good from Good, the golf clothing company. I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to name it the Good Hustle.
Yeah.
And I think just the name.
Yeah. There was something about that name that kind of, weirdly enough, kind of detailed how the podcast was going to go. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We got really lucky with that because that kind of gave us additional vision that I don't think either of us was really intending.
No. And I even think like our first guest was,
Luke Covert.
Luke. Yeah.
Yep.
Who was the movie director, and just listening to him tell his story about 18 years old, taking the plunge into becoming a movie director or working in film.
Yeah.
Like that was his plunge.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's like, my gosh, man, that's what we need. More people like this, like more people that are going to tell a good story.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a buddy named Brent that I've been trying to get on for a while. I really want him to tell his story. But just thinking like, wow, I've told my sobriety story at so many schools and different events and thinking about how many seeds that has planted. And then once we started getting these guests on that were telling their stories, like, we got some really good guests coming up
Yeah.
and their stories are going to be very helpful for some certain people in this world
Yeah.
that might be suffering or might be going through something that they need just that little push or that little, bit of hope.
Mhm.
And I think that's really spun this in the direction that we are now.
Yeah, I was I don't know. I think initially I was excited to do the podcast from like a more real estate centric angle, just because of course we're realtors and this is our, career path and all that stuff. And I think that would have been fine, but I think this angle just is a lot more fun. I think that we're gonna have a bigger impact on the world this way. And honestly, like one thing that you learn in real estate, the longer you're in it too, is like the real best way to meet clients, if that's your goal, is to be helpful, is to make an impact, is to leave a mark in a positive way. I really do view that, what we do can be entirely just positive. Like I
Yep.
believe that we can make an impact on people and hopefully that they'll want to have us around for their real estate transaction because we made a good impact on them.
Yeah, and I think that word impact, originally when we did, word of the year this year, mine was going to be, well, it is, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but routine, because my routines are terrible. Like my morning routine, I
Yeah.
have nothing. Like
Yeah.
it's terrible.
Brittany loves her morning routine.
Yeah,
She's
she
like
does.
the morning routine person.
She
Shout
has,
out to Brittany.
yeah, but I suck at it. I will admit, like I'm getting up at 6:15, 7:10 rolls around, and then I have plenty of time to get ready, and then the last 20 minutes of me getting ready is me going crazy to get out the door. Like this is
Yeah.
just okay. Maybe I do have a routine. That's my routine.
You're very
It's-
consistently.
I have a consistently terrible routine.
There you
So
go.
my word of the year was routine, but then, the more we did this episode, I kept hearing the word impactful.
Yeah.
Be impactful, an impact you're having every episode.
Mhm.
So like to me, that's my word of the year now. It's like, and if we can be impactful in every episode one way or another, and that, like I said, if 10,000 people hear one episode and it helps one person in Kansas, that is the coolest thing that we could be doing.
Yeah.
Like one person. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah, I think we've done a pretty good job of making an impact so far. I've heard a lot of stories from friends of mine, or like and we're gonna thank some people later who have been texting and DMing us about the podcast and stuff. But just some of the stuff they've been saying about like, hey man, that episode was really good. That one had me crying. Like I
Yeah.
can't believe some of the stuff. And like we have comments on YouTube from people that probably live all over the country. Especially on the Kate Gillis episode, there's like hundreds of comments now of just people being like, wow, that was so impactful. She's so cool. Like, what respect to this lady. I didn't know Shane's sister was this awesome, and like all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff in the comments, right?
Because people think it's Shane,
Yeah.
what's Shane's sister going to be like?
Yeah.
She going to be funny? Like, I mean, she is funny. And I grew up, like I said, I grew up with her, but it's kind of neat just to see these stories unfold in front of us while we're sitting here talking to
Mhm.
them at this table right behind us. Like, I think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So for you, let me ask you, what has been your favorite parts of the actual podcast? Like some of your favorite
tough
ones.
because I think like just selfishly, one of my favorite moments was having Jeff on, just because when you have a shared history of like going through college, like we did our final project together and stuff, and so when we were at Shippensburg, like it's so funny to think like, I don't know, we graduated 7 years ago now, and we were at Ship together doing God knows what in college, and he's got like a video game league going on, and we both did not want to be in a lot of the classes we were in together. And to go from that to we both ended up pursuing and being really ambitious in totally different sections. Like he's professional poker, doing World Series of Poker stuff in Las Vegas, and here I am doing videos and trying to sell houses and all this kind of stuff. So to see us kind of come back together for one kind of moment where we're kind of celebrating that win together, like he's doing one thing, I'm doing another, and we get to kind of talk about our good hustles together. And of course we got to go to Valley Bistro after and have a cool moment and stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah. So I think that was special to me just because to see how far both of us have grown in totally different ways, kind of separately from each other, and to come back together was really cool.
Yeah, I think two of my favorite moments were also the same episode because we played one hand of Texas Hold'em, and I had a straight, and I won. So I'm completely.
You're literally better than Jeff. Yeah.
I'm undefeated against a World Series of Poker player. Like
and you can say that for the rest of your life as long as you don't play another World
I will
Series.
never
of
play
Poker
another. You in the World Series of Poker? Any of you guys here? Nope. Then I can play because I will never lose. I will be undefeated till
Undefeated.
they bury me. And
Jeff
the
will
other
love
one,
that.
yeah, the other one was whenever we had Alex Irby here, and
Yes.
he brought two
Yep.
of my best friends' kids,
Mm.
and to have them sit right where basically we're at and
Yeah.
watch the podcast, you know, a 13 and an 11-year-old, Noah and Joey, and then have them come on. Like, to me, that's something those kids, like, the moment for them was much bigger, obviously, than
Sure.
they think for us, but it
Mhm.
was much bigger for me than they actually will ever know. That the fact that they were on the show, and
Yeah.
it's like, I grew up with their dads. Like,
Mhm.
those were two of my best friends growing up.
Yeah.
And I think that was really cool, like just having them on here. And
Yeah.
it was really cool just to hear Kate's story about everything, because I've known Kate forever. And, you know, we used to party together and worked at Snappers together and
Snappers. Yeah.
Snappers Bar and Grill. And that Terranese bread was so good. I used to love that bread. And, you know, just to have her on, and I'm just so excited for things to come because I don't, yeah.
Yeah. I think that, like, and of course we've enjoyed literally every episode we've filmed, and
My gosh, yes.
we would not be doing it this much with this consistency and this amount of effort if we didn't enjoy every second of it. And yeah, all of our guests have been awesome, and every episode we filmed has brought me something different. And I do, like, there's some times where I'm driving back to the office or driving home after we film or something, where I'm just kind of sitting there kind of just in like almost like a disbelief that we just had that conversation. Like it takes a second to process after someone tells you, like, oh yeah, I went through a really traumatic episode of trying to adopt kids, or I went through you know, a gunshot, you know, accident when I was in high school,
Or I lost a
and-
child.
or I lost a child, or like just all of these stories, or like Jeff, you know, he had a lot of stuff that happened with his dad, and then
His mom.
to go into his mom and World Series of Poker, and like there, it's trying to empathize with the people in those moments. And you get our genuine reactions too, which I think is awesome, because like I try specifically before we go on to not ask any of these questions ahead of time so that we can kind of have a genuine response to those moments. But yeah, there's something about empathizing with them in those moments when you hear something like that really stick with you afterwards, and we hear it every week now.
Yeah, very well said. It's
Yeah.
very true. And that's why I think people want authenticity when it comes to the show. People
Yeah.
really want authenticity right now.
Right.
And if you can show them that and not fill people with negative thoughts or negative news, you know, negative
Yeah.
media, and like if we can stay positive and tell people's stories and share that hope, I think we're going to keep just moving forward. So,
Yeah. So I guess now that we've been doing this for 15 episodes and about 3 months now, where I'll ask you, and I'll give my take later, but where do you see us going forward with the Good Hustle podcast, and also with like our real estate career stuff?
I would like some sponsors.
Yeah, we're trying to get sponsored by Topo Chico. So if anyone in the audience listens, or if anyone listening knows someone at Coca-Cola,
Just any sponsors, please.
Yeah.
Somebody help. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I just think getting more and more guests that just, for me, I feel like we've been very lucky with the guests that we've had.
yeah,
I just hope we can continue to have that,
Mhm.
and the big man puts that in play for us.
Yeah.
And that he keeps driving this forward for us, because really it's not our plan, it's his. And I just want to make sure that what we're doing is the right thing, not only for us, but for our guests. And if we can keep getting really cool people with great stories, and, you know, and I know we have really good ones lined up already.
Mhm.
Like if we can just keep moving forward with that and build this into something, and, you know, like hopefully someday we'll hit 100,000 followers on YouTube. Like that would be
Yeah.
really cool to me. Like when
Yeah.
that happens, like that will be a big celebration for us.
Yeah.
Like to me, and it's not that I want followers. That's not what I want. I want to share people's stories. So the
Mhm.
more followers we get, the more people we can share these stories with and help people.
Yeah.
And that's where I see this going.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I do want to say too, on response to the guest comment, my buddy Darren was asking me. We were at a Bears game the other day. He's like, "Dude, how are you like in the same room with like Chris Heisey and like Kate Gillis and like all these people? like, do you guys have like an agent? Like who's calling all these people for you? And I'm like, nope, it's a lot of luck between John and myself and weird connections we made over the years. And it's so funny that I think sometimes people think this is more sophisticated than it is.
I know. That studio is real nice. It's next to a karate place. I'm just waiting for a hand to come through this wall right here.
Yeah, they do. Sometimes we're filming the episodes and we hear hi, yeah, like right in the other.
But
you
we did
can't hear
Alex
it on the
Irby's. It was a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
That's all that was going on was karate class.
Yeah, I feel bad for Alex because I feel like he kind of wanted to keep looking over there and hearing the karate
It
stuff.
would be really fun if we went over there and got our yellow belts right after.
I bet Alex could hang with them. Alex is pretty athletic. So.
Yeah, I'm sure he would be fine.
I think he'd be
There's a Seinfeld episode where Kramer is in karate, and it is one of my favorite in the world because Elaine's taking advice from him because he's in karate. And if you watch Seinfeld, you're gonna know this. And she's taking advice, and she goes to see him, and then she realizes he's with a bunch of little children, and she's like, "Why am I taking advice from this man? Like, I want to be that guy."
That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I guess going forward, it's gonna be a lot of more of the same in the Good Hustle. I think we have a really good vision set in place now, and now I mean, most of the battle when it comes to creating a podcast and growing it over time is just consistency. So you're going to see a lot of consistency when it comes to posting the podcast and stuff. And with our real estate career, we're hoping that through the podcast we continue to make great connections and make impacts on people, and hopefully that will keep us going well in real estate too.
Who do you want to thank?
Yeah, so I have a good list of people that I wanted to specifically call out on this whole recap episode right now. So we talked about him before, but of course my first one here is Jeff Stellwagen. So I don't remember if we mentioned it in his episode, but Jeff was actually a fan of the podcast before he came on the episode.
He was nervous because of that, remember?
Yeah. And I was like, dude, it's literally just me and John. There's nothing to be nervous about. And I remember him texting me like beforehand, hey man, your podcast is so cool. Like this is so awesome. And I was so excited to have him on to tell his story and everything. And he's been a huge supporter behind the scenes of like, kind of encouraging myself and John. And so definitely want to thank Jeff Stellwagen specifically. Another one is Seth Johns. So he's a buddy of mine. One of my best friends growing up is Seth and his brother Wade. And Seth is really famous to me for texting me every week being like, that was a juicy episode, man. That one was so good. I love that one, man. And like, he's been a supporter of us behind the scenes. And he's been texting me pretty much every week about what he loved about the episode. And, oh my gosh, that story's crazy, man. And that kind of thing. And my buddy Elijah Cemento, I want to shout him out too. He came up to me at church one of the days and he was like, big into the podcast. He's like, dude, your podcast is so cool. I'm loving all the episodes and all that kind of stuff. And he was one of the first people to be like begging me for merch. He kept texting me and messaging me on Facebook and is like, hey man, when can I get a t-shirt? When can I get a hoodie?
Did you buy anything yet?
So I did send him the link.
Okay, good.
So Elijah, you can get that now. I think it's in your messenger or whatever on Facebook. But he's been a big supporter of ours too. And so I wanted to shout them three out specifically because they've been big supporters.
Yeah, for me, it's Taylor. Obviously, she's been a huge support. Brittany Giles has been an amazing support. She's our TL at our office.
Yeah.
She's been a huge proponent of us along with Taylor, like both of them.
Yeah. And Brittany came in here the other day to tour the studio and was taking pictures of stuff.
Yeah,
and
sending us photos.
Like, I got to see the cool studio, guys. That was so cool. And so she was having a lot of fun with that.
And for me, like all my family members and all the people that watch that you don't know are watching, like my buddy Adam, and then Bill, my buddy Bill.
Bill Brennan's been a big supporter.
Bill McSorley. Let's call him by his real name. He's been a big supporter, and he's gotten me a couple of guests, like in connection with a couple of guests as well, to come on the show, which has been very helpful for us as well. But yeah, just having our friends and family like help promote this. And, like my grandmother watching it, nannies, you rock, you're amazing. And, my aunt Julie, and they're all like, they're plugging away, they're watching and they're enjoying what we're doing. And just to get that feedback from those people, that's been the best part for me. So, and that's what really drives me to want to continue to do it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think it's just, I think it's a testament to the people we brought on to, because like without their stories, we wouldn't have as much to talk about. And I think, the fact that, my buddy Seth or my buddy Elijah or Jeff are able to get something from, Jawan Chisholm, who they maybe wouldn't have ever heard something from.
Yeah.
It's just, it's such a cool connection that we can make, in the community here. And I just think that's so cool.
Yeah. And I had dinner with my buddy Adam and Bill actually on Saturday night, and just to keep getting the messages from Adam
Mhm.
and Bill. Actually, this was great when we changed. We had 2 episodes run on Wednesday in a row. Bill was not happy with us.
He wasn't happy with us.
No, he's like, that is my Monday morning. I want the episode first thing Monday. That's how I start my week.
You know,
Like,
Sven said that to me too.
he was pissed.
Yeah.
And I love it. But hey, we're gonna keep plugging away.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we love doing. We're gonna keep running this. Hopefully, do 50 to 52 episodes a year.
Yeah.
Would be the goal,
hmm
which is a lot.
Might have
But-
to take off when I go to Florida over the summer or
Oh,
something.
we might have to do 2 in a row one day then.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd probably work.
Well, thank you so much. We're gonna continue to keep this moving forward.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. And we really do appreciate all the support out there. And maybe in the next recap, you'll get shouted out if you leave us some comments and stuff. So,
Did you put a link in yet for the merch?
yeah, the link. So if you are interested in getting any of the merch or anything, if you go on YouTube in the description, there will be a merch link on the YouTube page.
Man, if Nate had a shirt on, we could have a model right through here.
That's true. Yeah, Nate
Yeah.
Nate does have a shirt now. So
Yeah. Well, thank you all. Just continue watching. We really love the support, and we just are really grateful. So thank you.
yeah, thank you so much.